I wanted to answer your email. I noticed it this morning on my way to class. I was able to split the functionalities up, but I was still trying to.
Test this out?
Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing is whether to. Anytime it's nested, it's always harder, and even if you're taking the logic out, but have to see how you can get that second piece to come back true or false. But I think it should be easier to test with that.
Yeah, with smaller pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just still trial and error with it right now.
Okay. Maybe next Tuesday you can discuss.
Yeah, we have a few more things that we didn't get to cover in the time period that we met with you Tuesday that we'd like to. So maybe after some work this week, over this weekend, next week we can meet up again, sort of discuss those tests as well as some of the other.
Yeah, I'm going to have the groups sort of give me some updates by next Monday evening, so that I will look at it Monday night and Tuesday morning, and then so when I meet with the groups, I can sort of be prepared prior.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. I'm expecting you to have your user registrations functional with the connection to different user roles. I discussed navigation with several groups, at least 3 or 4 different groups. So with include and then include and so on. So if you have course offering to course and then from course to department, it would be and try to use meaningful acronyms or short forms for the lambda expressions. CO, right now you're referring, I'm hoping that all of you now understand this include and then include, right? Yes, no? Okay. So what would then include? What would you, why did I say that don't keep this as C but CO? It's not going to be considered a syntax error, but it would be a design error. Why would it be a design error?
Because CO refers to course offering that we're starting from.
Okay. Yeah, from when I say then include, it is the second clause on the related table. So if I use C here, and if I use C here, well, then this first C is referring to course offering, the second C is referring to course. Okay, so that's why it's a design error, because even if you yourself looked at it 2 days after you wrote that, you would get confused. So the basic idea is that you clarify everything as you go along, and then if I said dot include here, if you say dot include, at this point I'm trying to think, what does it bring up? Is it course, or is it referring to course offering? So it's the first one that includes this. Okay. You have to experiment and see. The easiest way is if you, for example, if you think it's course offering, do this and then check what comes up. Okay, so you have to get comfortable with the navigation part, and again, as I said, there were a few groups that discussed it, and the other groups that are, if you're still not clear, you have to ask it. It's ultimately look up, ask. There are some groups that, as I said, have done it, and that's now an expectation that you would be able to do it. The other place where you have to be aware of for navigation is if, well, course offering clause obviously has a foreign key link to course, and then, well, I just put this as clause. So the other navigation concept is when you're going from either the one side to the many sides. So when you're in course clause and you want to connect with the associated course offerings, you cannot use a foreign key, right? It's not possible in a relational database. So you cannot say this course offering or course offering ID. Instead, how are you connecting it to course offering from course? Yeah, Jacob? Okay, so you're going to get a list of course offerings. This should, again, be a concept that you're very familiar with. So this is a list of, whatever you want to call it, course offerings or course offerings list. So this is going to be a property get set. Now, this one, you really can't use it when you're getting it from the database, because why? Why can't you use this list on the database? Why can't I just say dot whatever include C whatever C dot course offerings list? Why is this not possible? It doesn't exist on the database. So what's the only place you can use this? No, that's not clear enough. Somebody from this side, where's the only place you can use this? You cannot use this and include. What do you mean application? What's an application? Well, it's no, something more specific. Well, what we were discussing earlier was persisting data versus memory, the data that exists only in the application memory space, right? So we were discussing the difference that anything that's in the model goes onto persistent data, which is basically the database, right? So that's the contrast between the application and the database. In this case, what I'm asking is, where can you use it? So what do I mean by that? In this case, where is my list? Disappeared, this list here. So where can you reference it? If you cannot use it here, what's the use of it? This is not possible. So how many of you know the answer to that? Pardon? We are not sending the data to the list as much as where would you reference this? On the view. In the view, you can get access to this list. Again, I'm going to deliberately give questions like this on the exam because these are fundamental concepts that you need to know, right? It's otherwise, if you can't navigate or understand the connections, then you're really not under. So that's why on your project you should explore all of this. Some of the groups have this, some others don't. So anytime you have a one-to-many association, you're going to, on the one side, what are you going to have? Which is the one side in this example? Course is the one side. So on the one side, you're going to have your list, and on the many side, you have, okay, the foreign key. So these are, again, concepts, as I said, that you should be, this is, it's not something entirely new, because where was the first time you learned it? Foreign keys were in 351. So that's the same concept. We are extending it into the object journey as well. And do we have the situation in a many-to-many situation? Yes, no? Would we have it? No? How many of you say no? Raise your hand if you say no. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10 or so. How many of you say yes? 2? As I always say, the rest of you, okay, Drew, yes, no, what are you saying? Or do you want to go into political science or some other area? What are you saying to this? Do you even know the question? Okay, what is the no to? What's that? So are you paying attention or not?
Let's look at that real quick.
Okay, what about you, Danny?
I missed your question. I was taking notes on
What notes are you taking now?
I was writing down the navigation one list.
okay, when you're writing notes, you understand what you're writing. Okay, so what's the question? Well, it is impossible to miss the question if you understood the concept. What is the concept? Well, let me ask David, what's the concept we are discussing? No, it's not the include statement. What did we just discuss? Well, what's the point of being in class if you're not being present? Okay, John?
So, what I understood is during the one-to-many before freshman project in class school,
okay, that's good. What John just said, we are basically discussing the concept of something from 351. That's why it's that's why you should know it. That's why I'm being very particular about it. It's not something that you don't know, right? Okay, so we discussed foreign keys in one-to-many situations. My question was, okay, now move to many-to-many, move to many-to-many, and from many-to-many, whether once you are in many-to-many, do you still have this concept applying? So we said, one is the foreign keys, and associated with foreign keys is the list, right? So there were about 12 of you who said that this concept potentially doesn't come into play in a many-to-many situation. In a one-to-many situation, you have the foreign key, but in many-to-many, it wouldn't come into play. Why wouldn't it come into play? Do you not have foreign keys? Yeah.
In many-to-many situations, create a table.
Okay, I'll call it connecting clause. Okay. So this is let's say M1, M2. Okay. So do we have foreign keys here? How many foreign keys do we have? Okay, we have foreign key 1, which goes, I'll put it this side. What I'm asking is very fundamental concepts, right? It's not complicated stuff. So, again, this is why I want you to, ultimately I keep telling you it's not about memorization, it's not about just writing stuff down. If you understand it, it's very simple. Okay, now, this many-to-many situation, you have 2 foreign keys. So how would you represent that if you're writing it up as clauses? So let's say what is a many-to-many situation. So you have courses, you have a class instructor, and we said it's many-to-many because instructors are qualified to teach many classes or many courses, and each course could be, there could be many instructors qualified to teach it. So since it's a many-to-many, we have a link. So I'll remove this list here, or I'll just to make it clearer, I'll remove it. So now we have these 2. So what is the connecting link? We called it qualified. What was it? Qualified? What's that? Qualified to teach. Okay, so this was the connecting link, the connecting clause. So what did we do? How did we set it up? In qualified to teach, we set up a connection to foreign key to course and foreign key to. Okay, and what did we do in course? How do we navigate? So this is foreign key 1 to course, foreign key 2 to instructor. So how do we navigate from course to qualified to teach?
Put a a list of the qualified instructors.
Okay. Qualified, whatever you want, qualified to teach. And this will be the qualified to teach. You can call it qualified to teach instructors, whatever else. Okay. Let's see, Sam. Is this all there is? Okay. Who else has? Okay. Arjun. Okay, so the issue is going the other way, the same concept. We are basically having a many-to-one situation here, right? Whereas from M2, you're coming to CC, that's it. It's again a one-to-many situation. So each one here is associated with one of these, but each of these here could be associated with many of the connecting class, right? So the same principle that we applied between course and course offering now applies between qualified to teach and course, instructor and qualified to teach. So over here we have another list, the same list. And you might just want to call this by some other name. Here you have qualified to teach courses, maybe, and then and the other side, you are looking for, what's it, courses, instructors, qualified to teach. Okay, so these are, you want to, without this connection, what happens? You cannot navigate. Okay, so that's why I want you to understand this. And if you're not paying attention, then you're never going to understand it. One of the things while you're in class is not just to blindly take down notes or to just have some program working. I want you to understand how it works. One note before I move on. I had sent an email from, Kristen Morrow. If you're interested in Accenture, she had asked that you contact, how many of you know Kristen? Okay. So I know one student had asked for her contact information. Is anyone else planning on applying? Okay. One of the things that they had multiple positions, and also she had said the location is negotiable, so hopefully those of you who are still looking for positions are doing it sort of a little bit aggressively. Use your projects for discussion. Don't allow the interview to go into totally unknown territory. You should try to control it. So part of it is being very sort of saying, okay, these are things I have done. This is a project, and bring it up. Like if your project is not having sufficient functionality, bring up what we are doing in class. Right? This has huge amount of functionality, and you can bring up whatever concepts, and so you start directing your interview. If sometimes from what I'm hearing from students going through interviews, if they start directing you, some of them start going into computer science, and especially since several of you from 352, the concepts, some of the concepts I think are still weak. So if you go that direction, and again, the other part is those of you who are still interested in technical interviews, you should set up a small group. We can have a session next Tuesday. I'll again try to have longer office hours through the afternoon. So you should draw upon some of your classmates. I'm going to ask some, like Austin, a few others who are interested in systems areas to come so that we can have a sort of a common pool of questions. Maybe we'll record it so that you could reference it. By the way, one of the things that, how many of you think you are, that Abdul Rahman is your friend? Several of you. Actually, his friends are on the laptop. It's a signature. Unless he gets a signature from you on the laptop, you're not quite his friend. And the only signature of an MIS student, he said, was, who is it? So only Kristen Morrow is his friend. So the others of you just have an illusion that, anyway. So coming back to this, so the issue is, please make sure that you're comfortable with the navigation, and also wherever you're looking at some application of JavaScript, like where you want to hide or show elements, I want you to experiment with it. Okay, I need to get on to the next concept. Search and result on the same view. The point at which I get really upset is when I feel things that you should know very well, like foreign key concepts, one-to-many, many-to-many. If you truly have understood it, whatever we are discussing today should have been a 2-3 minute discussion, right? Because you should know that, so again, whatever is in the model goes to the database, but then the object-oriented world, there is a limitation on navigation, right? So that's why you need to understand that these lists, what role do they play? They're not quite going to the database, but the lists are used in the views. So without that, you're not going to be able to navigate in the views. And some of them, like, trying to think there are at least 2 or 3 groups, right? Jacob, Colton, you are doing it, and then Austin, Jacob, Skylar, you understand it from your project, right? So I'm trying to think which other groups were. Okay, let me go on to this search and result on the same view, and I'm going to also, in addition, bring in some, I'm going to call this basic sorting. It's not a very elegant way of sorting, but it allows for sorting. Okay, let me, and for this, one of the things that is very useful is a view model. Okay, so we came across a view model previously. We created one very simple view model, but where did we come across a more complex view model? Where did we use it? Do you remember? We used it fairly recently. Register view model. So .NET, the library actually uses quite a few view models. You can see account view model has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The one that we modified was this register view model. We had a folder for something very simple, days of week. So what we'll do is create a view model. So under this, you have this folder, right? Under models, view called view models. So right click on that and create a class. So again, before I forget, for your project, for your project, please work on your project based off of our discussions. This is the group project. And what I'm expecting is to, based off of the discussion and also whatever we've added in, like user registration with roles, to add them in. And I want you to get this done by Monday sometime evening, let's say by Monday 7 p.m., so that I can review it Monday night and Tuesday morning. And again, most of Tuesday from 11:30 to sometime in the evening. I was there until about 8 p.m., 9 p.m. I forget. When was it that you went to, I guess Andrew and Rachel at the last group? Okay, so sometime around that time I'll be around. So hopefully there are some groups that I've asked you to work on some functionalities. So again, I will meet and review with you. But come with those functionalities if you set it up on your on Azure DevOps by 7 p.m. Send me an email stating exactly what you have done. So one per group. Send it to my mix address. What you did, mix. So it's NA Surendra. Okay. Let me get started with this discussion. I need to have about 45 minutes. Okay. So I'm creating a class. It's going to be a class for it's a view model. So it'll always end a class which is used for a model that's used for a view with the last view model V and M uppercase. And then I want to give the purpose of it. So this is for searching course offerings. I'm using a plural here, S. So SCARCH. So SCO is also uppercase. So view model, there are two things about a view model. The naming of it is, as I said, it will always have view model. That's the convention. The second is, it's always used for a view. So a view is for a particular user functionality, right? So the first part of the view model is what? Whatever the functionality is, that's typically how you name it. So that's one aspect, the naming. The second aspect is what? When I create a view model, what do I do with it in terms of adding migrations? Okay, let me see if anyone who didn't answer previously, can you answer this question? What do I do with migration with a view model? Jorge, Mackenzie, do I create? So should I say add migration, whatever, search this entire thing I've added? Pardon? Added course offerings. So do I have I already added a migration for course offerings? I did, right? So what is the purpose of a view model? Does it go to the database? A view model, it's only for a view. It doesn't go to the database. It doesn't store data permanently, right? So which means that we don't migrate a view model. So So those are the two concepts to keep in mind. So let's create this view model. And this is, as I said, use for this one, we are going to use it for search purposes, and then also for some very basic sorting. And this allows the view to be on one view, rather it will display the search options for the user as well as the result. Okay, so I'm not going to bring in all of the search options. I'll just put in, so I can search by department, I can search by instructor, start time. I'll not use end time, I'll use date just for, so let me set this up. It's a series of properties. I want to make the department search optional. So if I want to make this optional, what do I need to do? Yeah, just use a question mark. So similarly for instructor, okay. The other parameters to search are search start time and there's a search end time. I'm not going to do that for now, just to save some time. So public, this is, so I want a search start time. So search start time. And you can see that it's not necessary that I keep the names the same as the names in the model class. Okay, so what's the data type for start time? It's a date time. And again, I want to make it optional, which means I'll use a question mark. Okay, and if I want the, so this is a time. So if I want the, since it's used for the view, to make the view more user-friendly, what should I do? I should provide a data type annotation on top. So data type is data type dot, and I need to bring in this data annotations, so then it's easier to find the type. And in this case, it is just the time. Okay. And one other thing that you should notice that is not there in a view model, which you'll find in a regular model that goes to the database, what is missing right at the top? The key. You will have a key for every MVC model class. You don't have it for a view model. Okay, so you have a start time, and I'll also set up just a date property so that search start date. This is the date on which the course is supposed to begin. And again, the reason I'm bringing this in is so that you have a date also in addition to time. The only change here for data type is I just will include a date. Okay, so these are, so if you're thinking about it, these are inputs from the user. Yeah. Well, what does it do? How many of you? Pardon? Yeah, well, how many of you know what it does? Okay, Stephen, what does it do?
So, you do date time, you have the date, the time of the change, field, rather, you do the data type on date, you just have the date, field, time, whatever you set on.
Okay, and how does it, there's also another way it really becomes helpful. What's that way? it's very, very visible here.
When
Right.
you're entering in a start time or start date, it'll give you the format already, so you don't have to make it.
So if you pull this up, if you reference this on a view, actually you had an impressive representation, Stephen, on your Internet Explorer of this. What did it do?
They already formatted it with the date.
Yeah, for it gave you a
Kind of like a drop-down list where you can select the specific number.
for you on Internet Explorer, it showed an actual calendar, the calendar shows up on all browsers. The time was more impressive on the Internet Explorer because it gave it on Chrome. It just gives you like each of the hours, minutes, and then AM, PM. But I think at least the first time I saw it was on your browser for time. So that's why I was particularly calling on you. So anyways, so it's the rendering on the browser. Okay, so it shows it as a time option, which you can select, and this shows up as a calendar, which you can select the date. Of course, you can just type in the date if you choose to, especially if you're as old as me. You have to give the date of birth. You don't want to scroll over 55 times 12. So that's, anyways. So anyway, coming back to this, these are all the inputs. By the way, how many of you, what's the maximum distance anyone has? Has anyone run 13.1 miles? What's 13.1 miles? It's a half marathon. How many of you have run double that? Not yet? Okay, so I'm the only one who's run it. I run it 4 times by age 50. So age is, as they say, just a number, but I've not run for the last 5 years. So anyways, so just because I told you my age, I felt I had to justify that I'm not really as old as that, at least in certain other ways. I'm still functional. So I can run and do stuff. Well, next time, I promised you I would take you to the Arboretum, but I'm not going to keep my promise unless we meet outside of class hours. So anyways, coming back to this, so these are all inputs. And so, Audrey, have you understood why we are doing this? Okay. And the next step is, what else was it that we are going to have as an input? I said we are going to have the user give a sort, sort order. We'll call it sort order. So these are all inputs from the user. Okay. Now, I said this is for search course offerings. Need to keep track of time. Now that's 35 minutes. So inputs from the user, and then I am going to have what's the result. Result for the other search. I'll just call it search result. To be presented to the user, to be returned to the user. What was it? Do you remember from what we did in our course offering controller? Okay. Let's see. If I go to search course offerings, and then I have course search results. In search result, at the end, what am I returning? A course offerings list. So what I want to return here is a public list of course offering, and I'll call it course offerings list get set. Okay. So does this make sense? I'll just break this down into so that you can see. Okay, so when you're setting up your view model for these search results, to make it in one view, we are going to have properties for getting the input, and usually it's going to be one property. We'll see if there are cases where there's more than one property to return to the user, and typically it's going to be a list that gets returned. Okay.
It's like the same concept somehow, like the get and set.
Yeah, it is the same concept. So we are so the user's value, we are just getting it from the user, and then based on the values that the user provides, we are going to generate this and send it back. Okay. Okay. So let's try to get this going now. So I need to now have two things. One is I need the controller method, and the second is the view. Okay, so let's see. I have a view here. Previously, remember, we had two views. I'm going to go to the views. So I have search course offerings, and then I have the second view is search result. Okay. So I'm going to go. So I'm trying to see whether I just want to keep this older version as is, and then so that you have a reference to what we did previously and how this changes. So I think I will give you we'll try to create a new view, and I'll say add. I'm going to actually go to new item and select a view. So I'm going to create a new view so that I keep the previous one, and this is a razor view. I'm going to call this search course offerings, and I'll say combined. In that I'm doing so I don't have a separate view for getting the input and a separate view for sending the result. So I just call this search course offerings combined. That's the name of the view. And I need to proceed a little faster, I think. So let's see, how about 30 minutes? You understand what I'm doing, right? I'm going to get the input as well as send the output to this view. Okay. So let's see how I set it up. I call this view search course offerings combined. So I'm going to, at the very top, set up the model that I'm going to refer to. So what's the model I'm referring to here? So that model, which is the view? Which is the model? Yeah, so search course offerings view model, and if you don't see it come up, actually, if you go into your view model, one of the things I think I told you with the previous, it sort of goes under the directory view model as well. So it will be, the path will include view models. So if it doesn't recognize it, start from the base. When I say the base, what's the base? It is, well, let's see if I just say view model, does it find that it doesn't? View models, is it? Add plural. So usually you want to start from the other side, which is, what's the starting point? Scheduling, MVC, So let me go here. Scheduling MVC app, last name, dot, and then you have what's the next level? Models, dot, view models, and then you have, it will find this search course offering class. I think there is another way to just give this extension, which I now forget. So this entire thing can just be given as a tag. Let's see if I can find that. It's somewhere in, I think it's in shared. Has anyone explored this? Let's see. I think it is view imports, I think. Okay, over here, it's under shared, or is it under shared? Is it separate? No, it's below shared called view imports. So let's see if I can just put that, so view imports where I'm saying at using. So I'll take this at using all the way up to here. So let's see if I can reduce that. So I'll say at using and then go back. So this is in view imports. So so let's see if I can just remove this. Is it recognizing it or no?
No.
No? Okay. Fun. It has to be before. Okay. It is recognizing it after you save it. If you save view imports with this, you can see now it has recognized it. If I remove this and I just start typing search, okay. So that sort of avoids having to type everything in. Okay. Okay. Okay, so let's move to the next part, which is I want to get the other stuff. Some of the things I'm going to not get everything in here, so I'll just give a header, which is like search course offerings. Okay, why is this not recognizing it here? Oh. What did I create this as? It's Razor view. Did I create a Razor view or a Razor page? I think there's. I think there is. I think Razor page with a. Okay, so the Razor view doesn't have a page model, so I'm going to add this. It says index, so I'm going to add a Razor page. I believe otherwise it's not. Let me just experiment and see if it's going to. Is that, no, that's not right. I don't think it's creating a model behind it. That's not quite what I want. Okay. What I'm trying to understand is why it's not giving me or allowing me to recognize the present headings. Okay. Is your page picking up the IntelliSense here? No? Yes? Okay, I'm going to continue and see if I get anything after this. So let's see, for the form element, it seems to be picking it up. Okay, ASP action. I want the action to be going to search course offerings. Okay, so I'm going to have both combined. So I'm going to create, search course offerings. I'm going to just call it combined, so that I keep the older one. So this is when I say action, it is where does this go? This is the controller method, right? Okay. So I want to combine it instead of just having different methods. One for it's going to be combined. It's going to be two methods, but it's going to be one view. So I'm going to refer to the methods also as combined methods. Okay. Then what do I want to do after that? I just want to specify the method as a post method. Okay. So this is whatever constitutes the form. Okay, and inside of this, I'm going to have these divs. And we had some of the divs. I'm going to copy it so that we have only about 20 minutes left. So I'll copy this from register view, the view for register. We used it recently, so I'm going to have that. Go into account and find register. And in register, we had the first one that we are going to have is a drop-down list for department. So this is the drop-down list that we used for department in register. So I'm just going to get that. Control C and take it into search course offering. So I didn't want to type all of this over again. I don't need this ID here, so I can get rid of the ID. This label is for department ID, and my drop-down list is for department ID as well. And I have this form control. And the option value is not going to be 0, it's going to be null, okay? And then the view bag I need to set up. Where do I set up this view bag? Not in the view model, it's going to be in the controller method, okay? So similar to this, I have to set up instructor ID and so on. I'm not going to get all of the drop-downs. Instead, I'm just going to keep something very minimal. I'm just going to, let's say, use the start time. So I'll say, so I'll just copy this. So this is one div group. So I'm going to just reduce. I'm going to leave the rest for you to do the creating the form. I'm going to keep it very minimal. This is for start search start time, and this is, instead of it being a drop down, it's going to be so instead of select, it's going to be input. Label is there, and then I want, and I don't have a drop down, so I don't have to say ASP items. Okay, I can remove all of that. Okay, so that's my start time. And finally, I want a drop-down list for searching for the sort criteria, sort order. So I'm going to copy this. I didn't give a label in the view, so you probably need to add a name for the in the view. So so when I say label for, where do you get that label for? Do you remember what you do? In the view model, what should I do if I want a label? I had to give a name, right? It was a name tag. Well, let's see what I had in my, forget now. Does anyone remember what tag gives the label? If you don't remember, let's see. I'm going to go into the account view model, register view, and what does it say? Right here, display. So if you want the label to show up, you have to go to your view model and, oh, where's my view? Right here. And I have to say display name. What's my display name? Department. And for this, so for search start time, display name would be choose start time. Okay, over here you might want to say choose department. The same thing with sort order. So that's how you get the label name from here. Does it make sense? Okay, so for sort order, we are not going, well, we can have, this is if the user doesn't choose a sort order, I just say no order. And then let's say we have, we'll set sorting by, let's say we are going to display the course name. So we could sort it by course name, or since we are choosing department, okay, within that we could sort by, so I'll say course name will be the value. What gets displayed has a space, but here I cannot have a space because I'm going to use this value as is. Right, so that's why I'm trying to avoid spaces here. So these are different sort criteria that I'm going to just put in one more. Let's say start time. Okay, so about 15 minutes. Remaining. Okay, so I have my, so this is the input of the view setup. Now, I also need the output of the view, that is the result, also to be set up. So since I have about 15 minutes, I want to try to bring this in right here. So whatever I want to send in as the input will be inside of this form tag. Okay. There's one other thing I have to add. What's the other thing that I'm missing here? I need to submit it, right? So I need a button. I'll again borrow it from register. So that I don't have to type it in. I'm just going to put this in here. So instead of register, I'm going to call this search. Okay, now what I want to display will be coming below the font. Okay, and what I want to display is this. It's going to be, let's see, I'm actually going to look inside of the model. So I'm using an if statement. Remember that it's outside of the font tag. I'm doing an if statement. So if I want to look inside of the model, how do I reference the model? Just use capital uppercase M. Okay. Now, the result is going to come back in what? What is going to hold the result? Okay, course offerings list. Why did I use lowercase for course offerings list? It should, since it's a property, the convention is uppercase C. So I'm just going to change it in the view model. So here it changes now so that I can use the uppercase C. Make sure it is. Okay. Anytime it's a property, the convention is otherwise it's a lowercase c refers to a variable. So anyways, coming back to this. So what I'm looking for here is whether this is the first time that you are displaying it to the user, will there be any course offering list? The answer is no. It's going to be a null value. So when do I try to display? If it is not null. So if it's not null, what do I set up? Basically, whatever I had in the result, right? So search result. Find the search result view. So whatever I have in the search result, so right here, all of this, I'm going to copy, right, I want to add and delete all the way down here. I'm copying everything from result, from the header, the if statement, all the way down to where I had, and I'm going to move it to this here. Okay, so I had the if statement open, and then I'm closing it all the way down here. Okay, does that make sense? Yeah. So this is the result exactly as is that was there previously, except that I'm tagging it onto the same view, right? So now, why is this complaining? Previously, the model was course offerings, right? The enumerated version. Now, what is the model? Search course offerings view model. So what has the count here? It's not the model, but, well, inside of the view model, we have the list, right? And that has that's the one that comes back with the result. So if that count is 0, then what does it mean? There was no match for your search. If not, you want to display all of this. Okay, and once again, the model is the search view model. So inside of the model, there's a property, right? So how many of you can fix this? Well, this squiggly line, why it's complaining, the compiler. .NET is complaining. How many of you know what you need to do to fix it? Okay, How many of you are waiting for me to fix it? You're waiting? No? You're done? It's very simple, right? Use the dot. And then anytime you're a little bit doubtful, actually the dot notation, IntelliSense, will help you out. So hopefully you did this. If you did this, it takes care of everything inside here, right? So that's pretty much it. So you have addressed the search result here. Okay. Now, what we need is, we need two methods called search offerings combined in the controller, right? So I'm going to create, so we have our view. I'm going to save this. And then I'm going to go to my controller, course offerings controller. Do you understand what we are doing here? Right. We need to go to course offerings controller. I'm going to go to the very top so that you can see what I'm doing. Right under the, so over here, I'm going to create public iAction result, and I said this is going to be called search course offerings combined. That's the name of the method. Let me push this over a bit. Okay. So this the first method is a HTTP get method that goes to display. And I'm going to literally copy whatever I have inside my search course offerings method. Okay, what do I have in search course offerings? I have whatever I need to make the select list for the drop downs. I only have departments, but I'm also going to copy instructors because I'm going to have you do the instructors. Okay, so I'm going to copy that in. Okay, this was already there in search course offerings, right? I just copied it. You understand that, right? Okay, so the one thing that I have to do additionally here is this view. Like if you look at the search course offering previously, it was not using a view model. So in this case, we need to send the view model. So what we are doing, what we are going to do is create an empty search view model. Search, what's it called? Search course offerings view model. So I'm just going to call it, let's see, view model to make it easier. So how do I create it? New. So right now we just created an empty object to send. Why do we need this? Because we are sending it over to the view. The view will fill it up with whatever the user is going to provide us as input. So what am I sending the view? The view model. Okay. So this is what goes to the view, and what comes back from the view, I need to take it into I'm going to get it into a post method. So I'm going to copy this exact same method. The only difference is going to be, I'm going to say it is HTTP post. Okay, that's one difference. The other difference is going to be that when the user makes the selections, how do you think it's going to come into this post method? The parameter, and in this case, the parameter is the entire view model. Very good. So we are going to send the view model itself over. So so how do you put that in as a parameter? search course offerings view model, and I'll just call this, well, I think the easiest thing is just to call this model lowercase. Okay, so I have this that I can refer to. Now, the reason I copied this is because I still have to create the drop-down. Okay. The only difference here is I don't have to, over here, I need to do something that's different. Before I get to this point, I need to do my search, right? So I'm going to do a very quick, again, I'm going to go down to my, where do you think I'm going to copy this time? Search result. The search result method, go down to the search result method. I have only a couple of minutes left. So over here, okay, I can obviously copy all of this, but I'm only going to copy department ID start time because I'm not doing the check for, well, I'll copy this and let's see, up to start time. Okay. So I'm basically copying search, where is my search results combined? I have too many methods in course offering. Okay, so right here, before I get to this creation of the view model, I basically, right now, I just have whatever I copied over from the get method. So this one is the post method. Okay. So I say course offerings list, get everything in initially. Now, instead of saying department ID as a parameter, where do I find department ID? From the model, right? So I have to prefix it as model dot. Okay, so it's very simple, model dot. And similarly here, I don't have instructor, so I'll actually remove this and I'll have you fill this out. For now, I'm going to remove it. And similarly, start time is going to be model dot. Instead of start time, I called it search start time. And over here, it's going to similarly be model dot search start time dot value. Okay, so now I have my restriction or whatever the conditions apply. Now, what is going to send this back to the view? Where is it going to be? In this view model, it's going to be sent as a part of the view model, right? So the view model, where is the result stored? We said course offerings list, right? And what does this course offerings list consist of? Whatever we have generated up to now. Right? So does that make sense? Yes, no? Okay. Now, so the one thing that you might want to add is, so if the model dot sort order, if the sort order is not equal to null, what do you want to do? If it's not equal to null, we want to take this course offerings list and do something with it, right? What do we do with it? And this is where it's a little clunky. If it's not null, we look to see, so let's say we want to sort it by, what is the criteria we said? Department name, was it? If model dot sort order equals to course name. We want to sort the course offerings list by, we want to sort it by course name, so which means we'll have to go into, well, on the left side, we need to have course offerings list, right side, course offerings list dot sort, and the sort criteria is going to be, what's the criteria we are having? We have to say order, well, it's actually, is there a sort option? Okay, there is another option called order by. I'm going to experiment with sort, or have you also do that. But for now, let's use this order by. Order by uses a lambda expression, so which means we have to say order by CO dot course dot what? Course name. Okay. So if you want to do it by using the lambda expression, so why is this complaining now? Pardon? Cannot implicitly convert to list. Okay, maybe I have to add the list again. Okay. So if you do this and if you run it, you obviously have to have the where is I guess I've run out of time now. So if you run this, I called it course offerings combined. By the way, never do development like how we just did. What should I have been doing? Every time I should have been building and testing. Basically, I'm going to blame it on you for not answering questions earlier. That was never factored in. Anyways, I took up 20 minutes, which I didn't think I would. But anyways, if you run this, if by some miracle it runs, or I'll call myself, if it makes it, if there's an error, then I'll say you caused the error. So let's see, course offerings, search course offerings. Where is this course? I want course offerings, search course offerings combined. Okay, so this is what should show up if I do a search. Okay, it's actually showing up. So this delete, I think you have to have a space. It removed the space. And then if you give a search condition by department, and then if you use a course name sort order, you say, okay, everything worked. So I guess I must be really good there. So anyway, so you have to apply this and apply all the conditions. I honestly thought it wouldn't run, so I thought I would have made a mistake going so fast. But since everything is working, you can, if you need to review it, you follow the video and then put in all the other search criteria as well, right? I only used a few. So my expectation is you would do that both on an individual project and a group project. So, okay. Go through it carefully. I will review it beginning of next class.